Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Carolina's Creations-handmade, the perfect place for you to learn how to make beautiful things of your own. So make sure if you're not a subscriber, you click the red button down below, and also please click the bell button down below so you don't miss any of my videos. And today I want to share with you how to make your own unicorn traveler's notebook using a foam cover. If you want to learn how to make your own glitter foam cover, I'll leave a link on the description below and also here on the video so you can go check the tutorial for it. For this cover, I used two different glitters, ultra fine glitter, the hot pink, and then the chunky glitter iridescence one for the rest of the cover. I sprinkled a little of the chunky glitter on the hot pink side, and once everything dried out, I glued eyelash trim in the union of the two glitters. Now you need to score your 10 by 6¼ inches piece on the long side at 4 6/8 inches and at 5 10/8. After scoring and folding your piece, you may need to apply another layer of glue so you can seal the glitter again. Since you fold it, some of the glitter may lift up. And now we'll work on the back of the cover. Pick your decorative paper. I'm using a 7 by 12 inches piece, so I have enough to do my closure. And we'll use equal parts Mod Podge and equal parts water for this part. The reason we're diluting it is because Mod Podge always remains sticky even after drying, at least to me. So I found out that if I dilute it, it doesn't stick. Now, you have to choose a surface that won't get damaged from the Mod Podge seeping through because it will go through your porous foam piece. You need to apply a generous coat through all the piece and then lay your paper on top, and you're going to spread your hands all around it so you can remove the air bubbles. Also use your scoring tool or a ruler so you can move the air bubbles out. After that, you're going to apply 3 to 4 coats to the top of the paper. Make sure that it's all dried up before you do each coat. And if you have any air bubbles, use your brush to pat the air out and then even out your Mod Podge. You're going to repeat the same process for your closure piece and any other piece you're using that you need to apply Mod Podge to. Leave everything to dry completely, and after everything is dried out, we'll trim the excess paper from our cover. After trimming all around, you need to apply a generous coat of the Mod Podge mix all through the edges of your piece to prevent the paper from lifting up. I'm using a set of dies and stamp set from Pink Fresh Studio called Magical Unicorn. But you don't need to use this if you don't have it. If you don't have it, you can use any flowers you have, and also you can just trace the ears and make an ice cream cone shape like for the horn. I usually set everything up before gluing it just to make sure that everything is placed where I want it. After that, then I start gluing all my pieces using beacon glue. This glue dries really fast. It's like a cold silicone, and I really love it. I lay my flowers and decorative pieces for the cover flat so that when I write on my notebook that leans on top of it, it's not uncomfortable. If I had any three-dimensional things or pieces for decoration, it would make my writing uncomfortable. And now we'll work on our closure piece. We'll score our 3½ by 1¼ piece at 3/4 inches and 2½ inches on the long side. Then we'll round the edges of our piece. I'm going to use a little Inkers design die, and I'm going to just put it on top of my piece and press on it. Since we're working with the foam piece, the die will leave the impression of the shape on our piece so we can cut it. I could run it through my die cutting machine, but if I do, it will flatten my foam piece, and I don't want that. And now it's time to work on setting the eyelets on our notebook and our closure piece. I use my crocodile to open 2 holes on each side of my spine as you see there. I leave around less than 1/4 inch from the edge. You can mark it to be more exact, but I don't usually do it. Then I place my 4 eyelets and I set them using my crocodile. I turn my piece around all the time to make sure that the eyelet is set properly. Sometimes the eyelet gets smashed and then I have to replace it. I do mark the placement of the center eyelet that would hold my closing cord, just to make sure that it's placed out even. Then I use my bigger crocodile to open the hole and set the eyelet so I can reach it. And our piece is looking great already. I love using a chunky eyelet to hold my closing cord. And now it's time to work on our closure piece. We're going to set 2 eyelets at the edges of our piece. I leave around a 1/4 inch from the edge on each side. I'm not being exact here because I didn't measure, but you could measure it if you wanted it to be exact. I think it looks great. And also, if you plan to add a lot of things inside, you may want to make your closure piece a tiny bit larger. I run my cord through my closure piece and then stretch it on the width of my notebook so I can have the perfect length. It cannot be too tight or too loose. After that, then I cut my cord from the spool. And I make sure I leave some length to tie a knot. Since I do it this way, I cannot give you an exact measurement for the length of the cord. I take the cord piece and run it through the eyelet on my notebook. And then I grab my closure piece and run the cord starting from the inside of the closure piece and then run it back through the eyelet of the notebook. And then I tie a knot. I tie a provisional knot because I use metal closures, but you don't have to. And now I'm going to use a black Copic marker to draw the eyelashes on my unicorn. I use the stamps from the stamp set as a guide, but then I draw my eyelashes using my marker because since we seal this piece with glue, we would need to use the kind of ink like the StazOn ink that works on non-porous surfaces. But this ink also stains your stamps, and I don't want to stain my stamps, so I rather do it this way. I also applied a coat of the Mod Podge mix to the eyelashes just to prevent them from rubbing off, just in case. And now it's time to run the cord through our notebook for our inserts. I do the same I did with my closure piece. I don't cut the cord from my spool. I start running the cord through my notebook, and for this one I ran it 3 times through each side, so that would give me cord for 6 inserts. You may need to stretch the cords that are running already on the eyelets so it's easier for you to bring new cord in. So again, I did this 3 times, and you have to make sure that your cord, it's not going to be too tight. You need to leave them loose enough so when you put your inserts in, it's going to have enough cord so you won't tighten your cover against the notebook too much. You could do 3 eyelets on each edge of your spine instead, and it may be easier for you to run the cords that way. But I wanted to do it this way this time, and I didn't find it really difficult. So here's how it looks once you have the 3 cords running through. You will see on the back side, I made sure I left enough length so my cords were not too tight. You can see there how I can stretch them easily, and that way my inserts will work perfect inside my notebook. Now I'll cut the cord from the spool, and I'll tie a provisional knot since I'm going to use metal closures, but this step is optional. And here's our finished traveler's notebook. Isn't it stinking cute? I love it! You could leave it here, but I'm going to add metal closures to my cords so I don't just leave knots. I'm also using a little ring for my closure cord to make sure that it doesn't go through the eyelet. So I untie the knots, I trim the cord, and then I put my metal closure under the cords and I tighten them. This is pretty easy to do, and I think it gives a better finish to the book. But again, this step is totally optional. If you tie a knot, it will work perfectly fine. And after I'm done with that, I make sure that I add some of the beacon glue to the cords to make sure that they don't fray. And I repeat the same process for my closure cord. I untie the knot, place my cords inside my metal closure, and then I tighten the closures with my pliers. After I do that on this one, I am going to actually add the small ring to the metal closure. The metal closure has a little loop in there, so I cut my cords, and then I'm going to add the beacon glue to it so it doesn't fray. And after that, I'm going to apply my little ring to the little loop on my metal closure. Now that was a mouthful. So you can see here our closing cord won't slip through our eyelet. And now our super adorable unicorn traveler's notebook cover is done! And now I'm going to show you, I made a folder using a polyvinyl folder that I bought from the office supply store. I split that folder in the center, and then I used one of the covers that had a small pocket. That cover I cut to the height of my insert, and then I scored in the center and I got 2 pockets. And now I'll show you how I cover my inserts for my traveler's notebook. I use little notebooks from the Dollar Tree store. They come 3 in a pack. And what I do is I use my art glitter glue. I like using wet glue for this because it allows me time to move my little notebook around and make sure it's positioned perfectly. I spread the glue all over the cover on the one side, and then I place it on the piece of cardstock that I cut slightly larger than my notebook size. Then I run my scoring tool, I burnish it all around to make sure that the glue spreads evenly. I do the same to the other side, and then I fold my notebook against my paper, and I run my scoring tool again, burnishing all around to make sure that the glue spreads evenly. I fan my pages also to make sure they don't stick together. I cut the width of my paper larger here just to show you how you could make a pocket. It could be a vertical or horizontal pocket. If you want a horizontal pocket, you would have to cut on the side around 1.5 inches so you have enough space to put your things inside your pocket. But I'm not making a pocket this time, so I'm going to cut my excess paper. I'm going to trim all around my notebook to cut the excess paper. And then I'm going to file, making sure that I file towards the inside of the notebook and I don't lift my paper up. And this way I would get a better finish. And now it's time to have fun decorating our inserts. I made a little unicorn rosette. It looks more like a llama, but it's still adorable. I love how it turned out, and I love the glitter ball and the clean finish of our notebook. And finally, I forgot, I placed 2 clear adhesive pockets on each side cover of our traveler's notebook cover, so we have more storing space. I hope my tutorial was easy to follow and you like it. Thank you so much for watching. Welcome to my new subscribers, and thank you so much to my existing subscribers. I love you guys, and I hope to see you back here soon for another video. Bye bye. Mwah.